The stars above Una 4 were calm that day. The skies were blue, and the forest winds whispered softly through the trees. No one on the planet expected violence. It was a neutral zone, a place meant for peace. Soldiers from different worlds had agreed to stop fighting here. Aid teams came from many species to help the sick and the poor. Among them was a small human group wearing white suits marked with red crosses. They brought medicine, food, and healing. And in the center of that team was a young woman named Lena Carter. Lena was not a soldier. She had no weapons, no armor, and no special powers. She was just a combat medic trained to save lives. Her hands were steady, her voice calm, and her smile brought peace to those in pain. She helped alien children with broken arms and sat beside dying elders, holding their hands as they passed. Even the Corps soldiers, tall and cruel, watched her from a distance with puzzled eyes. They didn't understand why this small human girl made everyone feel safe. But someone higher up in the Corps command had a plan, a secret mission. The Corps Dominion had been waiting for a reason to break the peace treaty. They needed a spark, something to make the humans look weak, something to test Earth's limits, and Lena Carter, the unarmed healer, became their target. Late in the evening, as the human camp rested and shared food, shadows moved silently in the trees. A Corps strike team, cloaked in black, crept through the camp. They moved fast, ignoring other humans. Their mission was clear: take the girl alive. They surrounded Lena as she was cleaning her supplies. She turned to speak, but a sharp hiss from a stun weapon ended her words. Her body fell limp, and within seconds, she was gone. The Corps soldiers vanished into the forest, leaving no trace. The human camp was in shock. No one had expected it. No one had seen it coming. The commander of the aid team sent an emergency signal to Earth. He waited for a response. None came. He sent it again. Still silence. Hours passed. Then something strange happened. Every satellite above Una 4 went dark. Human ships in orbit, powered down. Long-range scanners picked up a single human signal, loud, clear, and repeating. It played across all frequencies in every language. Return her, or burn. At first, the Corps laughed. It was just one girl, just a medic. Surely, Earth wouldn't go to war over a single aid worker. But something in that message felt wrong. It wasn't diplomatic. It wasn't angry. It was cold, empty, like the voice of a machine that had already made a decision. A Corps scout ship near the edge of the system was the first to report something strange. A ship had appeared, silent and massive. It didn't answer hails. It didn't show up on regular sensors. Its surface looked blacker than space, and its design didn't match any known human ship. The scout pilot sent images back to base, and then he whispered a warning that made even the hardened Corps commanders sit still. You took her. You doomed us all. Lena woke up inside a cold prison cell on a Corps ship. Her hands were tied, and a collar buzzed around her neck. But even in pain, her training stayed strong. She checked herself for injury, calmed her breath, and looked around. Another prisoner, a wounded alien soldier, lay groaning nearby. Lena crawled to him, ignoring her restraints. She tore a strip from her uniform and wrapped his bleeding arm. The Corps guards watched her through the glass wall. One of them frowned. "Why is she helping us?" he asked. Another replied, "She's a medic. That's what they do." A sudden alarm echoed through the ship. The lights flickered. One of the guards turned pale as he looked at the screen. "They're here," he whispered. The captain of the ship rushed to the command room. Reports came from every sector, human ships appearing and vanishing without warning. Communications were jammed. Weapons systems were locking up. Earth wasn't sending a fleet. It was sending something else, something the galaxy hadn't seen in over 200 years. The commander shouted orders. "Prepare defenses. Contact. High command." But there was no time. Outside the core ship, a human vessel appeared, smooth, silent, and glowing with blue light. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. It just sat there, watching. Back on Una 4, the aid team received one. More signal, this time from Earth's old war protocol network. It was a single word: awakened. Inside her cell, Lena felt a pulse in the collar around her neck. It shut down and fell off. The walls of the prison flickered and opened. A soft voice echoed from the air around her. Lena Carter, status: active. Earth protocol. Seraph. Online. She stood slowly, confused. What is Protocol Seraph? She asked. The voice answered calmly. You are not just a medic. You are the signal. Lena stared at the open doorway in front of her, and the words repeated in her mind like thunder. Return her, or burn. The message kept repeating across the stars. Return her, or burn. It wasn't just a threat. It was a promise. Every major power in the galaxy heard it. Civilian ships paused their travels. Pirate crews went quiet. Even enemy nations, who hated Earth, stopped to listen. The signal came from no known planet. No one could trace its source. It came from the dark, cold and calm, like a voice from death itself. Core High Command ordered silence. They didn't want the rest of the galaxy to know what had happened. It's just a girl, the general said. A medic. We'll keep her hidden and this signal will fade. But the signal didn't fade. It grew louder. It began interrupting government channels, news broadcasts, and trade routes. It showed no code, no encryption. Just those words, again and again. Return her, or burn. On the prison ship where Lena Carter was held, tension filled the air. The guards were no longer mocking her. Some refused to look her in the eye. Others simply avoided her cell, their hands shaking. Lena didn't fully understand why. She had treated enemy soldiers with kindness. She had helped a wounded Core child, days before her capture. She was a medic, not a soldier. But the fear in their eyes told her something had changed. Captain Varek, leader of the prison ship, stood before the screen in silence. On it was a single image, a dark ship floating outside. The system. No one knew where it had come from. It didn't speak, it didn't move. But sensors reported one terrifying detail. The ship wasn't using engines. It was simply there, ignoring all known laws of movement. It shouldn't be possible. Then, another appeared. And another. Within hours, over 50 unknown human vessels had surrounded the edge of core space. They made no demands. They took no action. They just waited, silent and cold, like a judgment hanging over the stars. Varek turned to his second officer. Are we under attack? The officer's voice cracked. Not yet, but every time one of our patrol ships gets close, it disappears. No debris, no signal, just gone. Lena, still in her cell, sat quietly. Her thoughts were spinning. She wasn't trained for this. Her job was to save lives, not be the center of a galactic storm. But part of her knew something was wrong. Something bigger than she understood. The way the guards looked at her, the silence from Earth, the strange voice that spoke to her earlier. Protocol Seraph. What did that mean? Suddenly, her cell door opened. 2 Core soldiers entered, their weapons lowered. One of them, older and clearly shaken, spoke in a rough voice. Come with us. Lena stood slowly. Where are you taking me? To the bridge, the soldier said. The captain wants to speak with you. As she walked down the long metal halls, crew members stopped and stared. No one said a word. She wasn't wearing armor. She wasn't a threat. But they looked at her as if she held a bomb in her hands. On the bridge, Captain Varek stood facing a large screen. A massive ship filled the display. It was shaped like a black arrowhead, smooth and unmarked. No lights, no windows, just endless black steel. It didn't belong to any known human fleet. No records matched it. Varek turned to Lena. "Who are you really?" he asked. She frowned. "I'm a medic. That's all I've ever been." "No," he growled. "You're something else. Something Earth kept hidden. That ship out there, it came for you. You have no weapons, no command, and yet it listens to you." "I don't understand," Lena said, her voice shaking. Suddenly the screen changed. A human figure appeared. Just a silhouette, face hidden in shadows. A deep, calm voice filled the room. "Release the medic. You have 30 minutes." Then the screen went dark. Captain Varek shouted orders. "Prepare shields. Power up the main cannon." But the weapons didn't respond. The engineer called out, panicked. "Sir, our systems are offline. We're locked out." It's like someone has full control. Varek turned to Lena. "Is this you?" She shook her head. "I don't know how—" Before she could finish, the same voice echoed again. But this time, only she could hear it. "Seraph unit active. Command pending." She fell to her knees as a sharp pulse of light passed through her body. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just felt connected. Her eyes turned glassy as images flashed in her mind. Hidden training sessions, secret implants, strange technology buried in her bones. She wasn't just a medic. She was something more. Built for something Earth never wanted to use. Until now. Lena stood slowly, calm, stronger. "I want to speak to the fleet," she said. Varek hesitated. "Why? What are you?" She looked him in the eye. "I'm the reason they're not attacking. Yet." As the bridge officers stared in silence, Lena stepped forward and activated the ship's communication array. Her voice, soft but clear, echoed across space. "This is Lena Carter. I am alive. Stand down for now." And for the first time, the ships outside moved. Slowly, they turned, forming a perfect circle around the prison ship. No weapons fired, no missiles launched, just a message. Orders received. Standing by. The galaxy watched in silence, and every leader who heard that signal whispered the same fear. What did Earth create? The prison ship drifted in silence. Around it, the black human warships stayed still, like giant beasts waiting for a signal. No lights blinked, no sounds came, just the pressure, heavy and cold. It felt like the air itself was holding its breath. Captain Varek stood on the bridge, sweating. His crew whispered behind him. The name Seraph passed from mouth to mouth, but no one knew what it truly meant. The only thing they all agreed on was this. The girl was no ordinary medic. Lena Carter sat in the center of the bridge, her voice calm, her hands steady. The hidden tech in her mind was now fully awake. Earth's signal had triggered it, something buried deep inside her since training, something even she didn't know was there. She could feel them now. The ships, each one was alive with purpose, not crewed like normal vessels, but piloted by something far older. Earth's black fleet, the Seraph Guard, had been sleeping in the dark corners of the galaxy, forgotten by time, until she woke them. The Corps officers didn't know what to do. Their weapons didn't work. Their escape systems were jammed. Every attempt to contact command was blocked, and when they tried to aim sensors at the black ships, those systems simply melted. Captain Varek turned to her again. "What do you want from us?" Lena looked at him. "I want to leave this ship. I want to go home, but Earth isn't sending rescue. It sent warning." Varek narrowed his eyes. "You're bluffing." She didn't smile. "Am I?" A second later, the main screen lit up again. A new ship had arrived, larger than the rest. It didn't glide in. It descended, like it had dropped from some unseen ceiling of space. The moment it appeared, the stars around it seemed to flicker, and on its hull, glowing red symbols pulsed slowly. S-01, Judgment Class. One of the Corps officers gasped. That's not possible. That ship doesn't exist anymore. It was decommissioned centuries ago. Lena tilted her head. That's what they wanted you to believe. The Judgment Class warship was Earth's final weapon, a machine built not to fight, but to end wars. No one had seen it in over 200 years. Its appearance now was like seeing a ghost from a forgotten nightmare. And it had come for her. The Corps crew backed away as Lena rose from her seat. The ship outside slowly opened a path, a tunnel of blue light connecting its hangar to the prison vessel. No sound, no force, just an invitation. Captain Victh stepped forward. If you go, they might attack. Lena didn't look at him. No. If I don't go, they will. She walked down the hallway alone. Doors opened for her without command. Systems responded to her presence, even though she wasn't touching anything. She reached the airlock. On the other side, the blue light glowed brighter. One step forward, and her feet left the ground. The beam lifted her gently. No pain, no fear, just a strange calm. And then she vanished inside the waiting ship. Inside, the Judgment-class warship felt more like a cathedral than a machine. No metal walls, no crew, just light, smooth floors, and endless silence. The ship welcomed her like it had been waiting for centuries. A voice spoke, not from speakers, but from the ship itself. Seraph-01 confirmed. Welcome, Lena Carter. She whispered. I'm not a soldier. Incorrect, the voice replied. You are a key. Meanwhile, back on the prison ship, Captain Victh watched in silence. Then the stars outside began to shift. More human ships arrived, but these were different, not dark and silent like the others. These had markings, Earth's military. Crewed vessels, real humans. Dozens of warships formed behind the Seraph fleet. Backup had arrived. A message flashed on every Corps screen. We did not send our army first. We sent one medic, and now she's awake. Panic filled the Corps Dominion. Across their empire, leaders shouted at each other over holo screens. Some demanded surrender. Others wanted to fight, but none of them had answers. How could one girl, one medic, do this? Inside the Judgment-class ship, Lena stood at the core. A map of the galaxy floated before her, glowing softly. She touched one star system, and the map responded instantly. The voice asked, Target? She shook her head. No target, just a message. The ship responded. Across hundreds of core systems, holograms appeared in the sky. Over cities, military bases, and even command stations, a woman's face appeared. Lena Carter. She spoke only one sentence. We came in peace. You broke it. Now you face what Earth tried to forget. And the message ended. The galaxy was no longer quiet, and the Corps finally realized the truth. They hadn't captured a girl. They had triggered Earth's oldest defense, and it had only just begun to wake up. In the cold silence of deep space, the truth could no longer be hidden. The Seraph fleet was real. All across the galaxy, watchers stared at their screens in disbelief. Black ships, Judgment-class warships, technology that should have been impossible. None of them carried flags. None spoke a word. But everyone now knew they belonged to Earth, and they had come for one human girl. Inside the Judgment ship, Lena Carter stood at the heart of it all. She was no longer the confused medic from before. The ship had awakened something inside her. Not just memories, but power. Not physical strength, but command. The Seraph systems followed her will like she was part of the machine. She hadn't asked for this. But now, she was the key. Status? She asked softly, unsure who she was speaking to. The voice of the ship replied at once. Fleet is aligned. 71 Seraph vessels in standby. Human military fleet is at rear, awaiting further orders. She closed her eyes. It felt unreal. Her, giving orders to fleets of ancient warships? She had been trained as a healer, not a commander. But Earth had planned for this long ago. Centuries ago, when humans joined the galactic community, they learned something quickly. Peace didn't last. So Earth built a plan, a hidden plan, ships buried in dark systems, AI-controlled fleets, protocols that would only activate when certain signals were triggered, and the final trigger was her capture. On the core homeworld, chaos spread like fire. Their leaders argued across emergency meetings. Some wanted to deny everything. Others wanted to launch a full counterattack. But their military leaders knew better. They had seen what happened to the patrol fleets that got too close to the Seraph line. Gone. No wreckage, no last signals. Just erased. And the worst part? No one could scan the black ships. No readings, no energy output. It was like trying to look at a shadow in the middle of a storm. In secret, the Core Prime General sent a message to their most powerful ally, the Thar Dominion. We have made a mistake. We need help. The Thar laughed at first. You're afraid of ghost ships? Their ambassador said. But within minutes of that call, their outer colonies picked up something terrifying. The Judgment-class ship had moved, just slightly. But that small shift sent shock waves through nearby systems. Gravity wells twisted, space-time bent. Several sensor stations simply disappeared. And then a new signal, from Lena. It wasn't loud, it wasn't long. It said only one thing. Return the others, all of them. The Core stared at the message. Others? Their intelligence. Officers scrambled to dig through records. They found it, small reports buried and long forgotten. Over the years, Core forces had taken more than just Lena. 7 other humans had been captured or traded, mostly civilians or support roles. No one paid attention to them before, but now they were all marked as priority targets. The Seraph fleet began moving again, not fast, not attacking, but each ship turned slightly, aligning toward different systems, places where the missing humans were last seen. It wasn't war yet, but everyone watching knew it was a countdown. Back on the Judgment ship, Lena sat in silence. She didn't feel powerful. She felt the weight of the entire galaxy pressing on her shoulders. She whispered, "I just wanted to help people. I never wanted this." The voice of the ship replied, "That is why Earth chose you." Suddenly, the bridge lights dimmed. A new signal appeared, coming from one of the Seraph ships. This was different, a live transmission. A face appeared on screen, an old human wearing a dark uniform with no rank. He bowed slightly. "Seraph Command acknowledges your activation. Lena Carter, you are now Guardian Prime." Her eyes widened. "What does that mean?" "It means Earth gave you the final key," he said, "and now the fate of war or peace sits with you. If they return the others, this ends quietly. If not," he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Lena felt sick. She was holding a loaded weapon the size of a galaxy, and everyone was watching. Then something unexpected happened. A small transport ship exited hyperspace near the Judgment vessel. It had no weapons, no escorts. It was Core-made. It sent a single message. "We carry one of yours." Inside was a young human technician named Mia Torres, scared but alive. She had been taken 3 years ago for questioning and never returned. Now the Core were returning her. Lena rushed to the hangar as the transport docked. The door opened, and Mia stepped out slowly. Her eyes met Lena's, and both women ran toward each other. They embraced, and the fleet outside paused. Then, like a deep breath taken by the stars, all 71 Seraph ships powered down their weapons. Lights dimmed, hulls cooled. not because the war was over, but because a message had been received. And now, the galaxy knew something else, something worse than war. Earth could forgive, but if pushed again, it wouldn't ask twice. Mia Torres stood on the deck of the judgment ship, her hands still shaking. She had been locked away in a cold core research station for 3 years. No sunlight, no real food, no answers. And now, she stood on a ship that wasn't supposed to exist, surrounded by technology that made her head spin. But what scared her most was how quiet Lena Carter had become. Lena didn't celebrate the reunion. She didn't smile or cheer. She just stared at the stars in silence, her mind racing. If the Corps returned Mia, that meant they were afraid. But they didn't return the others. Earth's database had names, all 7, and only 1 had come back. "Status," Lena said quietly. The ship replied, "1 recovered. 6 remain unaccounted. Locations traced. Coordinates locked. Authorization pending." Mia stepped beside her. "What does that mean?" Lena looked at her. "It means Earth knew exactly where all of you were. And now, so do I. All over the galaxy, the Black Seraph." Ships moved again, not in one fleet but in small groups. Each one pointed to a different star system. Silent, deadly, unstoppable. Each one was going after the location of a missing human. The Core Dominion panicked. Their leaders sent messages across neutral channels. "We want peace. This is a misunderstanding." But Earth didn't reply. No messages came, no demands, no conditions, only the ships. Each Seraph vessel acted like it didn't care about politics or borders. It simply flew through space like it owned the stars. Planetary defenses tried to lock on, but sensors couldn't hold the signal. Some systems tried to launch missiles. Those missiles never exploded. They just vanished. In one system, a core military base raised shields and aimed every cannon it had at a passing Seraph ship. The ship paused, hovered above the base, then every weapon in the base turned off, without impact, without sound. When engineers checked later, they found something terrifying. The power cores were still full, but the weapons refused to work. The AI systems had rewritten themselves. The Seraph ship hadn't fired a single shot. It had simply rewritten the code of their entire base, and then it left. Back on the judgment ship, Lena was watching it all. The screens showed recovered humans one by one. Rescue ships landed. Core soldiers surrendered quietly. There were no battles, just fear. And Earth's silent answer to a single question: what happens when you steal from a world that never forgets? 6. Humans were now back aboard Seraph vessels. Scientists, engineers, even a teenage girl who'd been taken as a political prisoner by a Corps governor. She had barely survived. Her rescue was not peaceful. That particular Seraph ship had left, the governor's palace in ruins. Only one human remained: Eli Brandt, a combat engineer, taken 5 years ago during a border conflict. Officially, the Corps had claimed he was missing. In reality, they had used him to test neural link machines, dangerous tech banned by the Galactic Accord. When the Seraph fleet reached the hidden station holding him, no warning was given. No messages sent. The station blinked off scanners completely. When the area was later searched by Corps patrols, they found nothing but shattered metal, twisted remains floating in silence. And Eli Brandt, alive, now stood on the deck of the Judgment ship. His face was burned, one arm was gone, but his eyes were steady. He saluted Lena. "Thanks for coming." Lena didn't return the salute. She walked over and embraced him tightly. "You're home now." The entire bridge watched in silence. Mia, Eli, the rest of the rescued humans, some were crying, others just sat, stunned. None of them truly understood what Earth had done to bring them back. But they all knew one thing: they weren't forgotten. Earth had waited, had watched. And when the moment came, it acted like a sleeping god awakening in the dark. In the core capital, their leaders finally saw the full picture. All their bases compromised, systems bypassed, weapons useless, not because of violence, but because of power they didn't understand. One core general said it aloud, trembling, "This isn't war, this is judgment." And he was right. Lena stood at the front of the ship, watching the stars shift. The voice of the judgment ship spoke calmly. All humans recovered, hostile systems observed, awaiting final command. Everyone turned to her. She was no longer just a medic, not anymore. She was now the voice of the Seraph, the one who could end planets or offer mercy. Lena took a deep breath. "Send a message to every core world. We are not your enemies, but we are not prey. We have names, we have memories, we have limits. You just crossed them all, and..." Then she paused and gave one final order. "Stand down. Let them feel fear. Let them remember." And the ships obeyed. One by one, the Seraph vessels powered down their weapons. They hovered in silence over core space, watching, waiting. It wasn't peace, but it was a warning. Earth remembers, and Earth doesn't leave its people behind. The stars above the core capital had never looked so empty. Their great fleets had gone silent. Their defense systems were still frozen by whatever the Seraph fleet had done. And above it all, Judgment-class ships floated like giant shadows, quiet, unmoving, but terrifying in their presence. For the first time in centuries, the Core Council sent out a universal message. "We ask forgiveness. Return to peace. We did not understand." But Earth didn't reply. No message, no signal. Only the black ships, watching. Inside the Judgment ship, Lena Carter stood before a wide display showing the entire core dominion. 1,000 worlds, billions of lives. She didn't want this. Power. But it was hers now. She had recovered the stolen humans. The mission was complete. But something inside her still burned. "Why didn't they stop?" she asked softly. "Why did they keep hurting us when we never attacked them?" Eli Brandt, the combat engineer, stepped beside her. His voice was calm, but there was anger under it. "Because they thought we were weak. Easy to take, easy to break." Lena looked down. "And now they're afraid." Mia Torres spoke next. "They should be." Everyone on the bridge stayed quiet for a moment. The atmosphere was heavy, not with violence, but with choice. They could end this now, or deliver a message the galaxy would never forget. The Seraph AI broke the silence. "The core dominion has begun retreating from captured border worlds. Several research facilities have been destroyed by their own hands, evidence removed, traces of human experimentation found." Lena's hands clenched. "They're hiding what they did." "Correct." She stared at the screen. The core weren't sorry. They were scared. They wanted to erase the past, to pretend it never happened. They had begged for forgiveness, but only because they thought it might save them. Lena didn't want war, but she wouldn't allow them to bury the truth either. "Prepare a broadcast," she said. The AI responded instantly. "Live signal ready. Galaxy-wide transmission open in 60 seconds. As the countdown began, the Judgment ship shifted its position, turning to face the core homeworld directly. The black ship's surface lit with white lines, forming symbols no alien had seen before. Earth language written in cold light. Across the stars, the feed began. Billions watched as Lena Carter appeared on every major screen. She wasn't in uniform. She wore simple black. No makeup, no weapons. Just her eyes, calm, but full of something deep and ancient. "My name is Lena Carter," she began. "I'm a medic. I wasn't trained for war. I wasn't built for revenge. But I am human." Her voice didn't rise, but it cut through space like a knife. You took us. You experimented on us. You erased us from records. You hoped we would be forgotten. She stepped forward. You were wrong. Images appeared behind her, each of the 7 recovered humans, their names, faces, where they were taken, what was done to them. There was no screaming, no threats, only facts. Then came the last part, a display of Earth's hidden Seraph fleet, vessels that had stayed secret for generations, hundreds of black ships across systems, all tied to one network, all real. Earth never wanted this, Lena said, but Earth never forgot, and we are not alone anymore. The transmission ended. The galaxy sat in silence. On Core Prime, leaders fell to their knees. Across the stars, alien empires took careful notes. The Seraph fleet had not attacked, but they had just done something worse. They had shattered the illusion of control. The Core sent new messages. They offered public apologies. They promised trials, reparations, treaties, even access to secret technology. But none of that mattered now, because Earth had already moved on to the next phase. Inside the Judgment Ship, Lena met with the Seraph Command AI again. "Are we finished?" she asked. "Recovery complete, but justice remains incomplete. Shall we proceed?" Lena hesitated. She thought of the pain, the lost years, the people stolen, the lies told to cover it all. She thought of Earth, still quiet, still hidden, still watching. Then she nodded. Not revenge, just truth. The AI paused, then spoke. Acknowledged. Deploying Phase 2, broadcasting full archives of core crimes, enabling planetary witnesses, monitoring all reactions. Across every major planet, screens turned on. Files opened. Video logs played. Testimonies from humans who had escaped. Secret footage pulled from erased databases. It was all there. Proof the Core tried to bury. Now the galaxy saw everything, and Earth didn't have to say a single word. Fear spread, not because of an attack, but because Earth had built a weapon far worse than bombs or ships. Earth had built a memory, and it had just shared it with everyone. The Seraph ships remained silent above core space. No orders to fire. No fleets moved. They simply hovered like silent judges in the sky. Inside the Judgment Ship, Lena watched, quietly. Mia whispered, "Do you think it's over now?" Lena didn't answer, because somewhere deep in space, Earth was still watching, and it would never forget again. The Seraph ships never fired a single shot. No planet was destroyed. No fleet wiped out. No world burned. And yet, the galaxy had changed forever. Across thousands of systems, the same message played again and again. Lena Carter's calm voice, the images of the 7 recovered humans, and the truth Earth had silently carried for years. Empires watched in silence. Armies froze. Even pirates, warlords, and slavers began shutting down operations quietly. They didn't fear Earth's armies. They feared Earth's memory. On Core Prime, their great council crumbled. The people had seen everything. Proof of the lies, the abductions, the torture, the cover-ups. Protesters filled the streets. Soldiers dropped their weapons. No war had broken their empire. One human ship had. Inside the Judgment vessel, Lena Carter stood at the center of the command deck. Around her were the 7 rescued humans, all healing, all silent. She hadn't expected to become a leader. She was just a combat medic. But something about this mission had changed her, and the galaxy knew it. The Seraph AI spoke softly. "Core surrender complete. Dominion control reduced by 89%. Internal reform has begun. Do you wish to send additional fleets?" Lena shook her head. No. One ship was enough. That was the message she wanted the stars to remember. Earth didn't need to conquer. It only needed to remember. And that was more powerful than any invasion. The Seraph fleet began pulling back. silent as ever. One by one, the black ships turned away from core space and drifted into the stars. No farewell, no final message. Just a quiet exit. But the galaxy wouldn't forget, because that silence said everything. Back on Earth, the news had already spread. The government never claimed credit. No speeches, no banners. Just a short public record update. All 7 missing. Citizens recovered. Case closed. Nothing more. But across Earth's colonies, the people understood. They saw the deeper truth. Earth doesn't leave its own. Earth doesn't start fights. But if you push it far enough, Earth will finish them. In a small room aboard the Judgment ship, Lena sat alone, staring at an old photo, her team before the mission. Before the war. Before the core ever touched them. She felt tired, not from battle, but from the weight of knowing how close humanity had come to being forgotten. Mia entered the room quietly. They're saying your name on every channel now. Lena looked up. I didn't want that. I know, but people need someone to believe in. Lena nodded slowly, then asked, what about the others? Mia smiled. Eli's working on upgrading Seraph Tech. Jacob's already writing a book. The young girl, Nora, she said she wants to be a pilot. Lena smiled faintly. They're healing. And you? Lena paused, then answered quietly. I think I'm just beginning. The Judgment ship, once the symbol of silent vengeance, was now returning home. But its story, their story, had already begun spreading across galaxies. Not through force, not through threats, but through truth. A single human taken, a single ship sent, and a galaxy that learned what Earth really was. On a distant world, an alien child asked her father, is it true? One human ship scared the core empire? The father nodded. Not scared, changed, forever. Will they come again? The father looked to the stars. Only if we forget what they are. And so, stories began. Tales of the black ships, of Earth's hidden power, of the medic who spoke for the voiceless. They weren't told with fear. They were told with respect. Because Earth hadn't come to rule. Earth had come to remember. And in the silent space between stars, the Judgment ship drifted, quiet, calm, and watching. Always watching, because even if Earth never spoke again, the galaxy now knew, you don't take from humanity, you don't erase their names, and you never, ever mistake their silence for weakness. One girl's capture had lit the spark. One ship's journey had carried the fire, and now, every species across the stars would carry that memory forever. Earth had spoken, and it had only needed to speak once.